and there's periods of time where you are under exceptional levels of stress and you can't put a decision off. You have to make a decision now.
What if the value you place on your physical health was the key to living longer, making smarter decisions and handling stress effortlessly? Today I'm joined by Dr. Ben Rosenblaat, a world-class performance coach who's worked with the FA, elite athletes, A-list Hollywood actors and actresses, helping them unlock the true connection between physical health, mental clarity and long-term success.
Again, during those times of high demand and pressure, just doing the thing that you enjoy from a physical training perspective brings so much value.
You work with Hollywood celebrities, they come to you. What can the average business person learn from them? We're diving into the critical minimum rule that removes excuses and fuels progress even in the toughest times, and why prioritizing physical health leads to longevity, better decision making and less stress. Let's do this.
It's really, really easy to be able to associate one day's worth of training or eating with the final outcome, when actually it's chronic.
ActionCOACH, the help you need to grow your business.
What's the connection between mental performance and physical performance?
Well, I think that having high levels of physical performance gives you a greater bandwidth for your mental clarity and your mental objectives as well. So I think there's evidence out there around high levels of aerobic capacity, levels of aerobic power, allowing you to be able to divert resources towards your kind of thinking centers of your brain rather than your perceptions of fatigue. So it means that under high levels of stress and high levels of fatigue, you're better able to make more effective decisions under those conditions.
Pretty important in business, isn't it, making decisions? So are you saying the fitter you are in your body, the fitter you are in your mind?
I think it's an enabler, right? So the way that we had something similar with the England football team when for the Qatar World Cup, we actually only had 9 days to prepare them for the first game, which is a really, really short period of time to be able to make any changes in physical capability or fitness or power or anything like that. So we looked at it over a much longer term, and we came back to first principles, which is the things that we were trying to do was execute skills and make really, really great decisions under the highest levels of pressure and the highest levels of fatigue. If the players were able to come in a little bit fitter, then it meant that when they were fatigued and they were experiencing stress, pain, fatigue, what they wouldn't be doing was diverted their thinking and their energy resources towards how they're feeling, because their perceptions of that would be a lot lower. So then they'd be able to divert their kind of their blood in their brain towards the thinking centers of the brain, rather than the kind of the areas which perceive threat. And look, I think that's a high transfer to business.
Why?
Well, under being a business owner myself, I recognise that there are periods of time when you're on the roller coaster sometimes, and there's periods of time where you are under exceptional levels of stress, you are under exceptional levels of fatigue, and you can't put a decision off. You have to make a decision now, very, very often. And under those conditions, having high levels of fitness, high levels of strength, it gives you that kind of greater resilience. It allows you to be able to, again, divert your resources towards the things which really, really matter in that moment, rather than, oh my God, I feel terrible.
I interviewed a neuroscientist, Dr. Helen Bosky, she was called, and she said, because of one thing you mentioned there, fatigue, stress and fatigue, and she'd done a lot of research into this element, and she said, actually, you should make all your decisions in the morning.
Okay, yeah.
Make your decisions in the morning, because you do get tired through the day.
Yeah.
So when your mind is at the optimum in the morning, is that the same physical?
Well, I think there's amazing study with the decisions of judges and how the leniency of judges are, essentially the leniency and the harshness of sentencing being directly correlated to their blood sugar levels and timing associated with lunch. so that you really don't want to you really don't want to be seeing a judge just before lunch or just before the last energy, the last of the day.
They get harsher, yes.
Yeah.
In these times.
But there's evidence around being able to mitigate the cost of sleep debt by having high levels of fitness. So if you're not sleeping very well, having high levels of fitness means that again, you're better able to execute under those conditions. The question you asked was around physical performance and the morning. Yeah. I think that's highly individual. So it doesn't mean that everyone needs to work out in the morning just because that might be the time when your testosterone might be the highest, for example. It's actually more about, in terms of training and working out, a lot of it's going to be more around when is the best opportunity for you to be able to stay consistent, to be able to get the work done.
It's a good question, isn't it?
Rather than this might be optimal for my body. There's also some other really cool stuff that we do in sport, which is around how do you use, we call it priming. So how do you use physical activities to prime yourself for afternoon or evening events? So actually doing, and you might have experienced this as a coach and as an athlete as well, that you do some physical activities in the morning to give you more energy essentially later on in the evening.
Well, it's the way that energy flows, isn't it? Yeah. It's energy flows from out to in. There's a bit of a myth, isn't it? The myth being, when I get enough energy, I'll go to the gym. That's not how it works. It goes through. When you've got it in, you don't then give it out. You put it out, and then for some reason, the world kind of gives you it back. So when you go to the gym, you come back with more energy.
Yeah, as humans as well, we are shamefully routine and habit based. So there's
Why did you say shamefully?
Well, I don't know, because maybe that's the way I feel, because I like to think I'm a bit of a free spirit, but really I really like my habits and my routines, And there's something really, and the reason I say there's something really powerful about that is that if you have a really kind of strict routine, your body's physiology starts to adapt towards that routine as well. So if you know that you're always going to work out at 6 a.m. midday, whenever it might well be, and you have a routine that builds up to that, then your body's physiology will start to adapt to that and start anticipating that. So that's why the first couple of weeks of building a habit and building a routine are really different, because you're literally changing your physiology around that. But then you start getting more excited about getting to the gym at that particular point in time, and if you don't do it, it becomes quite challenging and difficult, because your physiology is literally primed towards you doing that particular activity at that particular time of day.
I kind of know some of this stuff, but as you said that, what dawned on me was the muscle memory is not just about doing push-ups or press-ups. It's about your routines. There's a muscle memory to it. Your body's preparing itself, like, for probably best part of 25 to 30 years. I've had a morning routine. I'm early. I'm on it, and my body's primed for it.
Yeah. Well, it's those thinking. It's those. Now what's the word for it? I can't quite remember. But essentially, the most you want to be really energy efficient as a person, as an organism, right? Any organism wants to be energy efficient. So what you don't want to be doing every single day is going, what time should I train? What should I have to eat? When should I get to sleep? But all these decisions, there's a high level of fatigue associated with making repeated decisions on a day-to-day basis. Heuristics. What you want is some heuristics or principles in place which allow you to think in chunks, right? And that's definitely true within business. Like, everyone's got their thinking models and their thinking structures. So rather than every time that you see a new threat to business come in, or a new deal come in, or a sales opportunity come in, if you start from ground zero every single time, it takes an enormous amount of effort and energy to go through that. Whereas if you've got those thinking structures or heuristics in place, the mental load, effort and energy to be able to complete that task is significantly lower. And it's the same with physical activity and training, right? If you have a routine, you have a structure, you have your habits, then you're not really thinking about anything, you're just doing.
I've not heard anyone say that before, actually. It's a bit of a realization, that, because it's widely accepted that time blocking is really good. It's an efficiency way of getting things done and being disciplined in some of the things in your business. But what you said is thinking in chunks.
Mm.
It's almost like time blocking,
Yeah.
but thinking in chunks where you do a large part of your thinking together.
Yeah.
James Clear wrote a book called Atomic Habits, and he talked about you do a habit, but then do another one after that and another one after that. And he calls
Okay.
it habit stacking.
Yes.
So now thinking in chunks, and you're making me think, make all your decisions in a block.
Yeah. But it's about having, I suppose it's mental models. I think, I mean, I don't know, but I think it's what the whole large language models are based off. They're essentially like thinking models, right? This is how you, this is how you approach this particular type of
Yeah.
task. This is how you approach this particular type of question. And, as people within business, then we have those heuristics or principles orientated about things that we know deeply well. Me less so because I'm young into business, so I'm building those thinking models and structures around business right now. But certainly around physical training, exercise, or nutrition, sleeping patterns and habits. It's all should be encompassed around those heuristics or principles.
Look, you've worked at the highest level of physical, I want to say holistic performance,
Yeah.
because it's mental, it's physical, it's all that you've been involved in with the FA, English Institute of Sport. You work with A-list celebrities, and I mean Hollywood celebrities. They come to you to get them in tip-top condition. Is that right?
That's right, yeah.
What can the average business person learn from them?
Well, I think the value that these people. So I'm really fortunate that like I said, throughout my career, I've spent 20 years coaching some of the highest, the best athletes on the planet, the highest performing teams on the planet, and now within my business, we're getting approached, like you say, by these individuals which might be CEO of major companies, like you say, some of the top actors in Hollywood, some of the highest performing athletes within the world as well, and some of the highest performing sporting organisations. The thing that I think that everybody can learn from these guys is the value that they place towards their physical health. And I mean, it's simple as that. They place an enormous amount of value on it, even if their time is exceptionally stretched. Whether that be a Premier League footballer who's playing Premier League, Champions League, international football, there's very, very little time for them to actually train. But they put a high amount of they index it very, very highly for them. So they will spend the extra, even if it's 20 minutes per day, preparing themselves. Whether it be the actor who's on set for 14 hours a day, with a 1 hour travel either side of it, they will come and work out before they go to sleep because they place a high value on it. The leader of a major company who, again, working 18, 20 hours a day, will spend half an hour training because it's a value they place towards it. So the thing that I really see in common between all these people is that the value they place on their physical preparation and their physical health. And the other thing, I suppose, is the clarity about what they're trying to achieve from physical training, whether it be longevity, whether it be reduction in pain, improvement in physical performance. They have complete clarity about the value it places within their performance, for want of a better phrase, and therefore therefore they're committing to it and they're doing it.
Your book deserves to be published, and self-publishing.com wants to help make it happen. You'll work one-to-one with an author strategist to write, publish, and market your book the right way. With more than 8,000 authors and 100,000 books in print, they know what works. Ready to bring your story to life? Visit selfpublishing.com/ActionCOACH right now.
Just want to challenge the listeners right now because, again, that's another couple of really profound points that you've made. So challenge the listeners, what value do you place on your physical health and how can we increase that value?
Yeah.
And what clarity have you got on the physical things that you want to achieve? Because they're the two things that you've just said. Is that what separates people that, I want to say, psychologically break more than physically break, but the ones that don't commit to the physical health and the ones that are just in tip-top condition? Is it those two things?
Yeah, I wonder, and also like I suppose there's a difference in terms of expectation of physical performance levels. I think it can be really intimidating if you don't have a, you and I have got a sporty background. We're sporty people. We've always played sport, so for us, playing sport, engaging in physical activity is quite normal and natural. And if we didn't, it would be kind of quite weird for us. Now, there's a whole group of society that they didn't have any positive relationship with playing sport or physical activity growing up, or they didn't enjoy it, and many of those people will be finding themselves running businesses or working in businesses right now. So I think making sure they have really clear expectations of their physical training. Okay, are they going to go and win a High Rocks or win the CrossFit Games or compete at the international stage or something? Maybe that's an inappropriate expectation for them, but maybe it's just, like I say, I just want to be in a little less pain when I'm throughout the day. I want to experience a little less fatigue. I want to have some longevity. I want to continue to have energy throughout the later stages of my life. Even making it really business performance related, like we spoke about at the very, very start. I want to be able to make better decisions or have better resources available to me when I'm tired, or when I'm under stress. So I think aligning making sure there's an alignment between your goals and your aspirations and the things that are important to you. There's a really, there's that intrinsic motivational theory, Decky and Ryan, which was put together in a book called Drive by Stephen Pink, I believe.
Daniel Pink.
Daniel Pink, there we go. Thank you very much. They showed that motivation, intrinsic motivation, your ability to get up and do something is driven by, and I've leveraged on this really hard as a coach, and I've noticed that when athletes aren't motivated or individuals aren't motivated, I as a coach have missed something here. They need to have autonomy. There needs to be a level of, I'm making a decision here. They need to have a level of mastery. There's improvement. And the point we're discussing here is connectedness. There needs to be a strong connection between the thing that they're doing right now, today, and the thing that's valuable and important to them and they're trying to achieve. So to the listeners who aren't necessarily engaging with a physical activity program now or in and out of it, I'd encourage them to have a think about how what connection is there between the thing that's really important for them in their life and that particular activity or habit.
Very mature kind of thinking here. Autonomy, mastery, connectedness. I like that kind of concept. But right at the start of all of that, what you kind of said without saying these words, it's not about high performance. It's not about elite and getting a record of doing bench presses or running 5Ks.
Yeah.
It's whatever, but there is a minimum. Stephen Covey said this, the great Stephen Covey. Rest in peace. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He says everybody needs a minimal exercise program, and he says that's half an hour a week, 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Half an hour, 3 times a week, but there's got to be a bit of cardiovascular in there, even if it's a slightly faster walk than you normally do.
Yeah.
There's got to be a bit of strength training in there. So your muscles, walking up a hill, for example, you get in some weight bearing stuff and some strength in there. And he says that's the minimum.
Yeah.
Is that still the minimum? That's probably 30, 40-year-old. What is the minimum expectations so that we can start to develop the mental strengths that come with the physical?
Well, one of the things that you and I spoke about beforehand was around periodization as well, which for those that aren't familiar, that's a term which describes, I suppose, the ebbs and flows or the fluctuation in training loads and intent across a period of time for an athlete. And I wonder if there is some parallel there with business as well, which is there's going to be periods of time where you can commit more time to your physical training and your physical health. Yeah. And there's going to be periods of time where you can commit less. Recently, for me, it's an important daily habit that I engage in. Recently, we've had, at home, we've had some serious family I guess, difficulties across our family. I've been traveling to Australia internationally, and we've had a challenging time within the business. Now, within that window of time, I didn't have the usual hour a day that I commit to my physical training, or the energy to be able to go and really turn the place over. But I did have 15 to 20 minutes every day, and within that period of time, if I could go out for a jog, or if I could do a yoga routine, and I could just stay consistent with something, then it meant when I'm in a bit freer headspace and a bit more space and time, I can recommit and go again. So I suppose, in answer to your question, the critical minimum is whatever the critical minimum is, but it's most important that something's being done. And then it's identifying times, windows and opportunities where you can invest more time, energy, effort into it. But being clear with your expectations as well. Like, if you are going through a period of heavy stress or heavy demand, that might not be the time to try and break your 5K record. It might be the time just to make sure that you get off the tube or stop earlier and walk. It might be the time to, just do some resistance training or some flexibility, some yoga work, which is going to have a far lower cost on your body, but keep you consistent. So I've given you a non-answer there.
Well, but you've put some thought into some interesting areas. So in these challenging times that you've had, you said, I didn't have an hour, I had 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You also alluded to the point you probably didn't feel like doing it.
Yeah.
And then you said, what's most important is that something gets done.
Correct.
So you got that done when you didn't feel like doing it.
Yeah.
And there's research in this area. Actually, a part of your brain grows. It's in your prefrontal lobe. When you don't feel like doing something and then you do it, you develop a strength in a part of your brain that just makes you stronger and more disciplined. And somewhere in here, the smarter people than you and I will tell us that. But you have that. You got that. How do the listeners get that? To force yourself to do it when you don't want to do it?
Well, it brings it back to our first conversation actually around habits and routines. So, and actually there is, look, at the end of the day, you've got to get there. And I would say that, again, pulling on two threads of the conversation we've had so far, one of them is what structures, habits and routines can you build in, or if you've got a team around you, can they build into your diary and your schedule? And the second part is prioritization, right? And I think that I guess the third stream associated with that is managing your expectations. So if you have habit, structure, and routine around it, you have.
Are they all the same thing, or are they three different things? Habit, structure, routine.
I don't know.
It's a nice trio of words.
Yeah, it works well, doesn't it? It kind of rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? So structure is different to a habit or routine. So structure is probably the foundation of that. That is what you're going to do. The routine.
If you don't have a structure, have you already failed?
I think that it's if you have a structure, it becomes easier.
Right.
And it comes back to the other thing we're talking about, though, those mental models or the heuristics. If you have structure, you have to think less, so you can just do. So the structure builds a routine. So then you have to think less. You just know exactly what you're going to do. And then the habit is just doing it on a frequent basis. So, yeah, I've bullshitted my way around that one pretty well.
Well, you're laughing around it. Habit, structure, routine. Another thing that you mentioned, I think everybody wants longevity.
Yeah.
Less stress. And what else did you... Mastery, you said.
Yeah.
No, better decisions, actually. We'll come to mastery in a second. Longevity, better decisions, less stress. Everyone wants that.
Yeah, sounds good, doesn't it?
Do we automatically get that by just even making sure something gets done?
For me, I think the sense of pride and purpose you get from whether it's having done something you didn't want to do, whether it is that kind of physiological expected response of I expect to do this, I will do it, and then that kind of reward centers that happen from that. I think that those are both very, very powerful. So I think getting it done that will give you more it will give you a more positive outlook on what's next to come, which is also really important. So we actually did a study, or we've done some work with that priming piece with the Great Britain hockey team in the build up to the Rio Olympics when we won gold. And what I wanted to do was have a look at essentially what could we do across on a match day. What can we do to give the players the best opportunity for performing exceptionally well in the afternoon and the evening? They were already on a habit and a routine, or maybe a structure, of doing some exercise in the morning to prepare themselves for the evening. We looked at essentially what are the things which are going to give them the players the best opportunity to have the highest levels of performance in the afternoon or evening. So what could we do to raise their levels of competitiveness, their testosterone levels? And when you look at when we investigated the research into it, there was something around, there are some really specific physical activities, like doing high resistance work or more power work. Yeah. There's something around aligning that with something that makes you feel good. So regardless of what that activity is, does it make you feel good? Does it make you feel good about yourself and positive about it? Does it make you, as an athlete, does it make you feel like you can dominate anybody in competition?
After doing it or before?
After doing it.
Okay.
Yeah, so again, during those times of high demand and pressure, just doing the thing that you enjoy from a physical training perspective is so much, it brings so much value because you have a positive expectation towards it. You feel good about wanting to do it. Afterwards, you feel better than if it's working on your weaknesses. And then finally as well, the other thing we found was, that actually like laughter was reducing your cortisol level really, really significantly as well. So that's why we also put a whole load of fun around the different environments that I've been in as well. So if you can make during times when you really don't want to train and it feels like it's really grueling and demanding and rubbish, can you do something that you really enjoy? You do something that you're looking forward to, and you do something which might bring a bit of a smile to your face. And it doesn't always, it doesn't have to be boot camp every day. And you're gonna the impact that's gonna have on your decisions and your positive affirmations and how you feel about yourself later in the day, it's probably going to be more profound than the effect of the exercise anyway.
I suppose the laughter thing, you kind of need someone else to do it with you, really, don't you? To play off of, unless I don't know, you're watching a video.
You got a really good podcast to listen
to. Yeah. Something that's going to bring a smile to your face. So what could bring a smile to your face? It could be, looking at your dream board, or if you're by yourself, or, imagining your holiday that you're going to have with the family.
With your brilliant new rig.
Yeah, so look, routines.
Sorry, just on that point as well, like the two things that you've mentioned there align with the connectedness piece we spoke about. So you're in there for a purpose. So with your dream board, the family, holiday, whatever it is, you're there for a purpose. You're there to be able to achieve that future goal, the thing that's really, really important to you as an individual. And then you're doing something that you enjoy, that makes you feel good, makes you feel positive about yourself around that. There's a cocktail of really good hormones kicking around there, right?
Well, there is. I mean, look, the value that you're placing towards your physical health, you said at the start, what's the purpose behind doing this and being connected to your long-term future? Lots of elite athletes, they want to be world class, like these Hollywood A-listers that you're working with here behind the scenes. They want to be world class as well. It's all about the performance and the delivery and the execution. Now, for a lot of listeners, they want to world class to them is being the best they can be.
Yeah,
getting the best out of themselves. Where does someone start?
Look, I actually think it's really similar because, there's a couple of strikers we're working with in football who play Champions League, and they want to score Champions League goals and international goals. The thing that they're trying to achieve is that, and that what they want is a program that's going to help them deliver that. What they don't want is a program that's going to help them win the next High Rocks. or they don't want a program that's going to help them reduce, smash their 5K PB.
Starting your own business was an exciting time, wasn't it? The good days you had, and the bad. You knew you'd have to work hard, but you did it for your future. Lately, though, you're missing out on the important things in life. Time seems to be slipping by. So make the change. Claim back your work-life balance and grow your business today. Visit actioncoach.co.uk.
And I would say that's similar for all the people we work with. It's about identifying the really, really specific things that are important to them and that they're trying to achieve. So, and therefore the programs should be orientated
around that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think there's any difference there with and you'll know this within your coaching background as well. Like, if a strength and conditioning coach or a physical performance coach delivered you this beast of an athlete that couldn't play on the court, there was no good to you, and no good to you as an athlete. There's so many times I've worked with coaches, I've heard that in hockey before as well, when they go, they got faster, but they couldn't play hockey any faster. Goalkeeper, I remember we did some training, we put 6 centimetres on his counter movement jump, which, if you think about 6 centimetres in the context of taking diving for a save or taking a cross a little bit higher, then, that's a really big performance gain. And the coach said he's not taking the crosses any higher. It's not actually had an impact on his performance. So well done, they're lifting more weights and they're jumping higher and all your measures of performance are improving. But it hasn't changed anything for performance. So I think it's about reverse engineering the performance demand, which is important, which is driven by the goals and the aspirations of the individual that you're working with.
Yeah.
That's high performance, not being really good at press-ups and sit-ups, right?
Clarity of what you want to achieve is absolutely fundamental. This is probably the third time we've said it now. And how much value are you putting on your physical health? So, for example, some of the listeners, there's not that many people out there that their goal is to score, 10 goals in the Champions League or 5 goals in the Champions League. But the fact that you're working with them is great. Some of the listeners, they want to get the business to 2 million this year or 10 million this year or achieve 500k profit this year or lead their team better. Could that be the goal? And then they say, right, what physical development do I need to put in place to achieve that goal?
So the process that I would go through to work with somebody like that, let's say, for example, they wanted to turn over 2 million this year. There's going to be a whole bunch, like you'd reverse engineer that from a marketing perspective, a sales perspective, an efficiency perspective. Let's then reverse engineer that from you as a leader perspective. Okay, what are the things that you need? What are your stress points or your challenge points across the day? And only the person in front of you will know what the answer to that is. Okay, well, I have energy dips at this time of day, for example. My sleep consistency is really, really poor. I become short-tempered under these particular situations, or I get really, really, when these really high stress points come, I feel anxious, I feel nervous, I feel stressed. I can't handle that. Whatever those things are. Then what we try and do is align that towards a physical profile. So let's have a look at what your aerobic capacity is. Let's have a look at how your body feels. Or the other one might be, I sit for hours and I get a really bad neck pain and it means I can't concentrate. Whatever it might well be, let's look at your physical profile. So let's understand your aerobic capacity. Let's look at your training history aligned with that. Let's look at your musculoskeletal health and your training history aside from that. And then let's look at your strength and power and your training history aside from that. So rather than coming up with like a program that's all singing or dancing and it can be all things to all people, you can then identify really, really clearly, right, here's your performance problem that's happening within your business. Based on your profile, these are the things that are kind of letting you down, the biggest threats to that. Let's build a program, and then here's your availability.
I suppose
here's your training history. Then let's build a program based on that. And that's the same process we go through with athletes.
Yeah, which is it's personal growth, isn't it? You know, begin with the end in mind.
Yeah.
Let's reverse engineer it. The fact that this is the objective, now we've got purpose. What role does the physical play in it? And,
Yeah, absolutely.
you know, let's profile you at this point. And we've got some benchmarks. I mean, the Hollywood scenario, so these famous actors or actresses that come to you, that's transferable actually to businesses, business leaders, business owners, whoever's listening right now. Because for them, it's all about the performance.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily a physical performance, is it? It's performing and executing. It's like a leader.
Yeah.
Communicating well in your team meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Leading and managing your team for during the course of an event. So that's transferable. What are some of the challenges that, or obstacles, or setbacks? Because it's never a smooth journey to that you've had with some of these A-listers.
Whoa. I'm going to think on that if that's okay for a moment.
Yeah, just bring it up when.
Yeah. So you know, what are some of the challenges? The challenge that I actually have very, very few challenges with working with like genuinely high performing people
because of the value that they're placing.
Yeah. The I think the higher challenge is making sure that you can help them achieve the things that are really important to them. The challenge is more on you as your own individual. You know, me as a coach, or my team as coaches, and making sure that we can deliver for them.
And that's getting clear on what they want to achieve and what success looks like.
And I think that you know, the obvious challenge might be with any of these individuals is that, like we spoke about earlier, the kind of time demands that are placed on them and their energy to be able to, and that goes across business, sport, performing arts, whatever domain. There's going to be periods of time where they've got large amounts of time, resource, and energy to be able to put towards the goals they're trying to achieve, and there's going to be periods of time where they've got really sod all. So it's about identifying within that period of time what the critical minimum requirements are within that period of time to make sure that they stay consistent for what's next. Now, I'll give you a nice example of that actually, from a sporting context, which helped me prepare for now. So with the Great Britain hockey team in the for the Rio Olympic Games, we had the Olympics, and then 4 weeks before that we had a competition called the Champions Trophy, which is a 2-week competition. Just for context wise, with hockey, there's usually 8 matches in 13 days or 5 matches in 7 days. It's a really dense schedule. You want to taper into those competitions to make sure they're not fatigued going in. And obviously the decay, particularly in female athletes, the decay of strength qualities is a higher decay than male athletes, right. Which means that basically female athletes lose their strength a little quicker than the male athletes. That also predisposes them to a higher injury and fatigue risk if you're losing your physical performance at a high rate. So if we look at that window of time, we've got the Olympic Games, so 2 weeks deep, they need to be winning a medal. We've got a 4-week training period with a week taper. They have a competition before that, and then with a period of time with a taper. So when I looked at it, I thought to myself, there might be a 9-week window before the Olympic final where the players won't have had the opportunity to deliver any kind of strength training, which means that by the time the period of time that they need to be performing at their very, very best, their physical performance might be the worst it's been throughout the entire calendar year. So we had to think differently. And then what we tried to do was actually go, okay, well, during this period of competition, the Champions Trophy, they're going to have to retain some level of strength training despite playing every single day. In order to do that, we need to build their physical capacity so that if we just did the critical minimum during this tournament, it would mean that beforehand they'd have to do a hell of a lot so that they had a high reserve going in. So that's the approach. So, and then what we're able to do is say, okay, well, 4 weeks before this tournament, we're going to go on to our highest volume of strength training. During it, we're able to do just 2 sets of 2 every single day. This is the same approach we took with the England football team at the World Cup in 2018, where we had a 25% improvement in power across the course of the tournament. Just by doing a small amount every single day. I mean, they were in the gym for 8 to 10 minutes every single day. Meant that when they spat out the end of the Champions Trophy tournament, they actually had retained the level of strength they required, and they weren't getting DOMS or muscle soreness from it. So it meant we can have another push before the Olympic Games. We took the same approach again for the England football team and the Russia World Cup, where strength training was very new to them. We knew that we couldn't induce high levels of muscle soreness, so we just did a really small amount every single day and found a 25% improvement in power across the tournament. Okay, how does this transfer? Business people will know that there's periods of their calendar that sometimes it's unexpected and unpredictable, right? You get slapped in the face and you've got to pivot, right? Chaos. But more often you do know when there's going to be periods of time where there's going to be high sales. There's going to be
any seasonal business. It could be throughout the week. A Wednesday's bigger, or a Friday's bigger, or a monthly cycle.
Got it. You know when you're going to be stretched and stressed. So that's the period that you know that you're going to have lower resources, lower time, lower energy to be able to do physical activity or training. What are you doing building up to that to give yourself the capacity to make sure that you can stay consistent within that? And for me, that's the critical transferable piece that I learned from working in international sport for so long, was that there are going to be periods of time where it's chaos. That's fine. But there's also going to be periods of time where, which is unpredictable. There's also predictable periods of chaos as well, or high demand. Let's prepare for them. And you can even do that from a sleep perspective as well. I've got a hell of a lot of international travel coming up here, or I'm going to have to work late because I've got calls to America or wherever this period of time. This is a period where there's not going to be a lot of sleep, right? So before that, sleep bank. How much sleep can I get before that window there? And afterwards, what am I going to do to recover from that?
Do sleep banks work?
There's evidence for it, for sure.
So, it's going to be, 5 or 6 hours next week, so let's get the 8 hours in this week.
Yeah, or just give yourself the extra 15, 20 minutes either side. Give yourself an extra 20-minute light. Because, again, and this is, I think, one of the mistakes that gets made with weight loss and with training, that not everyone thinks, but it's really, really easy to be able to associate one day's worth of training or eating with the final outcome, or sleeping with the final outcome, when actually it's chronic. So the impact of training doesn't take place within one session. The impact of nutrition doesn't take place within one meal. It's about, for weight loss, a calorie deficit over a period of time, not over a day. For training, it's about the amount of volume you can accumulate over a period of time rather than per day. Sleep, so what? You've had one bad night's sleep, no problem. The world's not going to end. All right, you might have 2 or 3 really bad nights of sleep. All I'm saying is, if you know that's coming because it's predictable, then can you start giving yourself an extra 15 minutes either side? Because over time, what's that? An extra half an hour per night, which gives you, across the course of a week, you're going to be better at maths than I am. An extra 3.5 hours.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. An extra 3.5 hours, which is not coming up to half a night's more sleep per week than what you had going in. So you're giving yourself more resource. And then similarly afterwards, you've gone through this high period of demand, you haven't been able to train that much, your nutrition's been crap because you've been traveling loads, or you've been up really late and all this kind of stuff. Right, recover. There's the time to reset.
You know what is really relatable there? It's having documented and objectively what my critical minimums are.
Yeah.
So if I know, like even it could be, 3 sets of 30 push-ups.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, as stupid as that might sound, the feel-good factor from just doing 3 sets of 30 push-ups when you might be delivering an event for a week or whatever you're doing, that's the minimum, and it's just looking after yourself, and it's stopping losing muscle, but probably more importantly, it's giving the psychological edge.
I think so, and I think the sleep one's really important, particularly like I've got a wearable on right now to track my sleep and recovery and all that.
The Whoop.
The Whoop, yeah.
Hi, I am Rachel Riley, and I'm really pleased to tell you that I will be the host of BizX 2025. 3 days of speaker sessions, interactive events, and a few surprises along the way.
If you're an ambitious business owner eager to unlock the next level of growth, get more information at thebizx.co.uk.
Looking forward to seeing you there.
And it's really, you can look at one day and go like, oh, you can set your hair on fire if I had any, to be, like, oh no, I've had a really bad night's sleep or what have you. But it's fine. This is the periodization piece as well. It's periodical. There'll be a period of time where your sleep's going to be crap. You're going to have a really, really bad night's sleep. You're going to have a day with no energy. You're going to have a day where you wish you would have drunk more and hydrated more, but you didn't. Move it on, right? So what? If you know it's coming, can you prepare for it? And if it has happened, can you recover from it? And those are so. There's a great psychologist I used to work with England called Ian Mitchell, and he works with Newcastle now. He used to spoke about resilience not being the kind of ability to withstand something, but proactive adaptability. Can you see around corners? Can you sniff the danger? Can you see it coming? And can you put measures in place to help you get ready for it? And for me, that's such a great definition of resilience. You're not just waiting for stuff to happen and then like toughing it. It's more like, yeah, we've got the conference next week, or we're flying to wherever. I know that these things about my personal health are going to be compromised, and as a consequence, my personal performance. What can I do to prepare for it?
Look, in business, what you measure, you manage.
Yeah.
Peter Drucker, it's there's hundreds of people that have quoted that, and what you manage gets repeated and done again and again and again. So just go with us on the Whoop then. If I'm a business owner, a business leader, what are the key benefits of me, as simple as this may sound, getting one of them snazzy wristbands and starting to measure data? What's the benefits for me?
I can talk about how I place personal value in it, and then how I think that could be extended. So from my perspective, it is looking at things. I think one of the most dangerous things you can do is look at it on a daily basis, and either do exceptionally reward yourself or
beat yourself up.
Yeah, because hey, I had a great night's sleep, or achieved my strain score, whatever it might well be today. Because the adaptations to training and the adaptations that you're trying to make from a personal health perspective don't take place in one day, they take place over time. So I would actually encourage listeners, if they are going to use this, to leverage on things like the weekly performance assessments or the monthly performance assessments that Whoop deliver. So you can actually have a look at things a bit more chronically and have a look over a period of time what has happened and what has changed. And again, and then look at the impact of some of your behaviours, which is another really, really nice feature of the Whoop. Look at the impact of some of your behaviours on things like your autonomic stress or like your sleeping patterns and habits as well. Alcohol has a really big impact on your sleep quality, and
amazing, isn't it, when you look at that?
But it's a hell of a lot of fun to it's so
it is incredible metrics, and it does get you thinking differently about when you can start seeing the data in front of you, and it educates you, to be honest, really fast.
And that's how I use it as well. Like, okay, I'm stretched here. I know this is a period of time of heavy stress and heavy demand coming up. It's often represented within the Whoop data itself. Similarly, this might be a bad time for me to try and compromise my immunity, or particularly if I'm having to perform as a business owner or as a coach. This is a bad time for me to try and compromise that by staying up really late, eating really bad food, and drinking loads of booze, because I can see objectively the impact it's having. Additionally, I've also noticed that I probably didn't come into this period of high stress as fit as I had been previously, and it's hit me a little harder, from my heart rate variability perspective and my sleeping patterns perspective, than it would have done historically. And that's something I've known intuitively, that when I go on training camps, for example, often the days are 5 a.m. till maybe 1 a.m, midnight maybe. I get up early to make sure I can work out and train, and then probably up to 1 or sometimes 2 a.m. discussing things with coaches, analysing data. Those are long stretch days that can last for a month plus. If I'm really fit, I can absorb that a hell of a lot better than if I'm not, and that plays out in the data as well.
Got some quick questions to wrap
Please.
up here. What's the hardest lesson that you've had to learn?
Hardest lesson I've had to learn. I think one of the hardest lessons I've had to learn is probably around probably your own personal limitations. But then that was also like really, really useful, because it means that you can challenges the way that you recruit and bring people in, and the skills that you require around you as well, to be impactful for the athletes or the people that matter to you as well. So yeah, I'm sure like when I'm on a plane later this evening, I might call you back and give you a better answer to that. But that's the one that struck me straight away.
It's a good point, though. It's a relatable point to the listeners. Big lesson. It's like all problems are pointing to me. I'm limited.
I also as well that I think that I suppose within that frame as well, that you can't solve everything. Not every problem you can solve or you can deliver, which is that's a personal challenge for me, because I'm the sort of bloke that kind of wants to go, let's do it now. I don't I want to confront things head on and attack and nail it. I don't like things being unleft or anything like that. So knowing that that's not always the appropriate solution is really hard.
What's the most beautiful thing about physical success or physical development?
I think you've made a really, really nice. You've the second way you said that resonated much higher with me than the first. So rather than physical success, is the development piece, and it is just seeing progress. And I think that's probably the most. Feeling progress
in yourself. It's your body. This is your body. You've got one vehicle, haven't you?
And particularly when you get that alignment piece right, and you do see the connection between I'm better at this and God, it's really helped me with that. And I really, really do believe that, particularly as you age and as you go later on into your life as well, there will be some things physically that you can do better and you can keep making improvements on than you have done at any other stage in your life.
What's your definition of success when it comes down to physical health?
I think to hammer home the points that we've made so far, it's progress, and then there's alignment. The two things that really resonate with me, which is this helping you do the things that are valuable and important for your life, and are you making progress?
What's the best gift you can give anyone?
It's probably your time and your love, really, isn't it? Those are those things you can give people.
I ask everyone these questions. It's amazing some of the answers that we get. Time and
Rolex.
Whoop.
Yeah.
The best thing I can give them.
If anyone wants to give me anything.
It's not. That's a pretty good answer, actually, isn't it? The best thing that you can give is like visibility on your physical health, and that's. This is not an advert for Whoop.
It sounds it. No, they're doing well if it is.
Yeah, they are. But look, all the elite people use them.
Yeah, for sure. I think that there's something in that space around just a level of accountability and visibility on your physical health, for sure.
Now we've had this conversation, what do you think the headline of this podcast should be?
I don't know. I wish I would have worked for the Sun for a few years now, but I think there's definitely a piece around, daily improvement or connectedness. Making sure your physical health supports your longer term aspirations. Crap headline though, isn't it? Maybe you can come up with something better.
I was thinking at the start, things have crossed my mind, elite performance, mind, body, spirit. I don't think that's it. I think that's too intensive. I think where we've gone today is we've normalized it. We've stayed mature on this. It's more about physical health, the value you put on it. So value, clarity, purpose.
Yeah, I could take them. Yeah.
Physical health, value, clarity, purpose, something like that. What's the call to action though? What's the first action that the listeners should do?
Well, I think there's two things there's two ways you can approach this, and I think this is actually really similar across business generally, right? So like one, do something and then keep doing something and work out what's going to stick and what's going to work. Or the second one is that proactive adaptability piece. Have a little look around the corner that's coming up and start putting a plan in place. If you can probably do both of those things, but either will work.
Do something, be proactive. When you said do something, I mean, you really enunciated it earlier on. And you gave that example in your own life where you only had 15 minutes and one day you did yoga and the next day you did a 15-minute jog. Just take yourself back to that time where it was hectic, it was chaotic around you, but 15 minutes, you'd done the yoga. So just get back in that.
Yeah.
After you finished your yoga, how did you feel?
I felt ready.
Okay, same. Next day you did I don't know whether this is reality or not, but you give the example. Next day you did a 15-minute jog. How did you feel?
I felt ready. That's it.
That's it.
I feel ready. I felt ready because the demands I had on that day were really high, and I just knew that I was ready.
It's really, I love the repetition and conviction in the word. Oh, I felt ready. That's all that this is.
Yeah.
That's all of this, what we've talked about, is getting you ready.
Correct.
To take your life by storm.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it?
So my favourite bits, that is up there with my favourite bits, how you've just gone ready. The value that you place towards your physical health. For anyone that answered the question to that, I think what just happened to listeners is they started to value it more just by you saying that. And the clarity of what you want to achieve, make that your purpose, reverse engineer it. That was my favourite part.
Well, I suppose it fits with that heuristic piece as well. If you've already got clarity around what you're trying to achieve, who you are, all that kind of stuff, then just hijack that for your physical health. Like just latch it straight on.
It's a good point, isn't it? Hijack it. If you can do it in this area of life, transfer it to this area of life.
But
anyway, that was my favourite part. What's been your favourite part?
I think that my favourite part was the very, very start when you came in straight with a fast punch question that I wasn't prepared for, and I really enjoyed having to think on the spot and make sure there was a credible answer for you.
Ben, thank you very much, sir.